So this time, do you have yours, Anne? Oh, cool. We're going to talk about the Kingdom of the Wicked series, all three books. We're going to have spoilers, right? Yeah. So if you haven't read it yet, jump off this.
Do the first intro without spoilers,
Yeah.
and then we jump to spoilers.
We'll tell you when the spoilers are coming. So this was a series Andrea read first and then forced Liz and I to read. And not like passively. Like she's like, you better fucking read this. And so Liz and I binge read it recently.
I read the three books in 4 days.
Oh my gosh. Okay, it took me like 2.5 weeks. I
I
don't know
think it
why.
was 5 days. Sorry, five. I misled you. 5 days. But yeah, it was intense.
It's very good. So the story, does anyone want to do a synopsis? No? Okay, I will. So the story kicks off with Amelia and her twin sister Victoria, and they live in Sicily. And so they live with their two parents and their grandma. It's a very, I would say, like kind of like historic town. It's not recent times. It's more of, I would say medieval, but maybe like 1800s kind of time period. And
Yeah.
they have their own restaurant and they have this like quaint little life that they love. Well, then one day Victoria turns up dead, and that's not a spoiler because it's in the description basically. And then Amelia kind of goes crazy and is like, I'm going to figure out who murdered my sister, why they murdered her, and I'm going to get vengeance on all of them. So she turns from like this like book loving little like chef into this badass, like, I'm going to figure out who did this and I'm going to kill them type of person.
And they're witches.
Yes, yes, I should mention that. They're witches. And so when trying to figure out what happened, she starts summoning people from the underworld to help her and makes an alliance. And then they start trying to solve her sister's murder together. And that's really book one's like synopsis. The whole series follows her kind of story, and you find out little Easter eggs along the way. There's lots of twists and turns, and it's very meta in my opinion. I know that's like an odd saying, but it really is. Like there's so many levels to the story that all like come on unwound. That's not the right word.
Yeah. There's so many things you learn in the last book that make me want to reread the first.
Yes.
Like it's
Yes. So Andrea, what did you rate it?
Oh, I forgot to look up what I rated it. I think I rated it an A plus.
Mm-hmm. I did
They were
too.
so good.
me too.
Yeah.
This was like what I needed after Akatar, you guys. This is it. This is
Yes.
like what I needed. So
What did you love about it? Like, why would you compare it to Akatar?
I so
'Cause it's
go for it, Anne.
so it's kind of like enemies to lovers in that same trope. There's they're not like the same type of people from the underworld, but they do have like lots of characters in the underworld that you get to meet. And you kind of like I started liking a lot of them. I don't know, it's hard to say without like giving it away, but the writing was really good like Akatar. Like I was like sucked into it. It was one I like could not put down. Um if you want to read it, I recommend buying them all at once because waiting was like horrible because each one ended on like a cliffhanger and you're like, what? And you just had to keep reading. So I don't know. I really liked it. I liked the main characters too. Like sometimes I'm like, whatever. But I thought all the main characters were really strong and good, well written.
Even the supporting characters, like you didn't uh get kind of like annoyed when the chapters strayed from like the main story. It wasn't
Mhm.
sometimes when they have like other side characters stories happening, it's kind of boring. I'm like, okay, but get back to the main people. But in this, I found those really interesting too. Like all the princes of hell and like their
Yeah.
interactions.
And they're like funny. Like I
Mhm.
laughed at them a lot. Like it wasn't all dark and or just
No.
like a complete romance story either. Like they made me laugh too, like ACOTAR.
I like could not guess where it was going either. Like I was surprised so many times and I'm like, wait, what happened? Like this had been going on all along and I had no idea.
So I one of the reasons is kind of like what you said, love the characters and whatnot. But one thing I loved from the series was that how much was incorporated from the first book to the last, and how many like secrets like
Yes.
evolved that I didn't even realize were like secrets in the beginning or like part of it at all.
Oh my God, can we do spoilers and talk about this
Yes.
thing?
Let's do
Okay.
spoilers because I have one in particular that, like, not a spoiler, but I want to know your opinion on.
Okay.
Okay. So, you know how when Victoria killed Antonio, they actually lived on the shifting isles. So, does that mean he was already dead to begin with?
I think so, but I hadn't thought about that before right now. But yeah, he had to have been because he was already in hell.
Yeah. So, like, he obviously like wasn't a great person to begin with. So, it didn't really matter that she killed him in a sense. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was crazy.
We talk about the big one first. Is oh my God, they were already married. That
Oh
part
yeah,
was
I couldn't believe that. I was like, oh my God.
I couldn't believe that like where she lived wasn't real. Like it wasn't actually Sicily. Like she lived her whole life in this magical realm and had no idea.
well, what about like that aisle, right? Could be any place and any time. So they had been searching through like an infinite number of times and like places trying to find her.
It's
Yeah,
so
and then she ends
tricky.
up like summoning him.
Yeah, I want to. Okay, that's the part I really want to reread, knowing now, like her summoning him and him being like, "Oh my God, that's my wife that I've been looking for," and she just like summoned me and made us engaged again.
Yeah, and she said his real name, which was like when she said that, I was like, yeah, that's I'm like, he's totally the devil because of other fantasy books I read where that's his name. So I'm like, that's when I was like, where I started to like think about that, which I don't
That
want to give away other books, but yeah, I was like,
Mhm.
that's when I started suspecting.
Who was your guys' favorite Prince of Hell?
Was it Envy or Pride? I always get them confused. I think it was Envy.
he's the one
I
that's like
like
buddy buddy with her, right?
what?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he
liked
was
yeah.
Envy
so
too.
helpful. He was
But
so helpful and nice. Who do you
I
like,
also
Matt?
like Sloth. I think
Yes.
he's such a fun like addition to the story. And I just think I would like to hang out with him.
I'm so excited she's doing books for all the brothers. I like can't wait.
Yes. And the first one is Envy's book that gets released in October of this year. So
Oh,
excited.
that's exciting.
And I'm so interested because they hinted the whole time that Envy had like someone that he had like lost, right? And so I'm
Hmm.
like, or something he's like sad about. So I'm like,
Liz,
what
did
is
you read the bonus chapter?
I haven't yet. Does it tell us? Okay.
No, it doesn't tell you who, but it kind of makes you think.
All right. Well, I'm excited for that. Also, what's the other? Is it Pride, right? Whose wife grew up with the Victoria and the other one.
Claudia, that was another moment to where I was like, the foreshadowing here is crazy. And it was just so intricate. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that it was Claudia, honestly.
Claudia has to come back with Pride, right?
But I also feel like that's such a love triangle, but I really feel like Pride and Victoria should be
I
together.
know. And then they like allude that they're all gonna get along together. And I'm just like, wait, what?
The Victoria and Pride thing was like weird because like he seemed interested, but like not interested.
But so another question I have is in the bonus chapter, because Ian, you read it, right?
Hmm.
It
I
alludes
hate
to
you.
the fact that Victoria might have been more involved in like the curse and whatnot. Okay. Liz, you need to read it. I don't want to give away spoilers,
I'll
but
read
I was kind of confused on that
it.
because like it kind of makes you rethink like Victoria's interactions and like if you should actually like fully like her or not.
I like never completely trusted her. I don't know why. And then like she when she wants to become queen of her like realm or whatnot,
Mhm.
I don't know. She just doesn't have like the best vibes.
Super sketch.
She
She's
like
Um,
reminds me of Nesta. Like just like
mhm.
I don't know. I was always like, I don't know if I trust her.
Or like Maven from Red Queen. So we're like, they
Yeah.
seem okay, but I don't know.
does
Maven was
anyone,
not okay, Madeline.
I know.
Not
But he
okay.
seemed okay in the beginning.
or if you're Courtney, he still seems okay.
That's
He's just misunderstood. Um,
Yeah.
does anybody else like love the fact though that the two sisters ended up being like leaders of their own realm and like super powerful and not just like someone's wife? Because I loved that.
I did love that. Did you agree with or disagree with Emilia getting her powers back?
I loved that. Why would you not
Mhm.
agree with
Well, it's because it's like Wrath gave her powers, you know?
that? Yeah.
Do you think he knew that that was what was going to happen?
I mean,
Like, I
I
felt,
think he should have just, if he even thought that was a possibility, told her before he stabbed her. But
He seemed so reluctant though. I don't think he knew.
I don't know. I thought it was sweet of him to share his powers.
Well, that's nice.
I also,
Maybe that's why he was okay with stabbing her and taking her powers because he knew he could just give her his powers back, and it would be fine.
or maybe
I
he
felt
thought
like
it was
he
a
knew
possibility, but he didn't maybe want to promise. Like,
Oh,
because he said, like, everything I have is yours or something.
mhm.
And that's when I was like, oh, she's definitely getting her powers back. But she did not like pick up on that when he said that. But I was like, he had to have known or something.
Maybe it was a test because remember when she got her powers back, he was a little maybe like hesitant that she would turn into the fury that she was before that was kind of more ruthless. So maybe he wanted her to
Mhm.
give up her powers just like wholeheartedly.
Just to see like what her like personality or what her real feelings
Yeah.
were.
To make
what
like
about the test her brothers did too? That was so
I
funny.
really like them.
That was my favorite part. They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna test her." Don't you remember how this went last time?
Hmm.
Love it.
They were great. Well, great series. Highly recommend. A plus. I will probably read this again in like a few years when I forget some of the details. Because I think honestly, reading it a second time, you would pick up on more by knowing the ending.
Yeah.
Do you guys see the announcement for her new book series? The new one about Envy, she said was definitely new adult, not like the first one. So heads up.
I mean, I would say this is new
Interesting.
adult for sure. The second and third book are a
Not the
bit more
first.
raunchy or spicy.
The first one was like YA, I think for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrea, great recommendation. Gold stars to Andrea.
Round of applause.
Bow, Andrea.